It spoke about your history of drug addiction the other day and how you cleaned yourself up.
It's the challenge of a lifetime for sure, but I'm pretty grateful for the challenge because without it, I think I may have never been privileged to discovering the big picture.
One of the common qualities, or one of the, certainly the dominant, is the issue of control that people have. And the loss of feeling that they can't control their external life, suffering from the inability to control their inner life, the fear of being out of control, and almost wanting to drown that fear so they can live in the illusion that they are in control.
Yeah, I think there's a part of it which is, wanting to take this shortcut to a relationship with God. I think that's sort of where the name Getting High comes from.
Either you release the need to control your life and give in to some greater power that would direct your ascension or your getting high process.
Right.
Or you insist on doing it your way, which would be the mechanical, drug way, altered state, in which case you can't outrun the mystical process. And so it's as if the universe continues to say, oh yeah, and throws you down deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
Until you finally get to the point where you can't run anymore. And then your ascension begins.
Let's keep talking
Under the Bridge is this song about, not wanting to have to re-experience certain lows and loneliness and just the common human experience of perils. And people love connecting to a common peril.
When I write lyrics for my songs, I'm not thinking of making things better in this world at all, but I am thinking of making things better in other spiritual planes.
People make the association that in order to be a really good rock star, you have had to endure a lot of psychological pain.
You just know the whole process of a child looking up to a rock star, and the rock star being something to him that subconsciously he connects to a great deal. Yeah, I just know it's a really healthy process.
All over the world, people are listening to you right now.
I feel that the person that I am to somebody else who doesn't know me, the person that they think I am is an equally valid person as the actual person sitting here right now. Like, I think that it's equally as real as me sitting here.
Do you feel that the band is your family? Would you say that's
the
bond you have?
Yeah, because I kind of think of that as being the center of my life.
It's far easier to think that behind the scenes you're doing something wild than the way you really live.
Right.
To see you doing yoga and to pray together and to be so conscious of your nutrition and your environment, that's a phenomenal thing.
It's so much more thrilling and exciting and wild to me to feel like there's this enormous field of growth in front of me.
You're very devoted to your daughter, Clara.
I've got to be there for her because I'm her father and I'm the only father she'll have, and she's a kid and I've got to be there no matter what. And so that sort of unconditional giving no matter what, which I feel is, one of the most basic, important spiritual principles of a way to live, has totally influenced me as a musician.
generation?
There's no space for kids to think and to be
No time, is that what you mean?
space, not just time, but space in the air. There's all this information flying around,
Excellent.
and there's no room for kids to think, to develop their own personalities.
Hurt me, you can't hurt me. Suck my kiss. Kiss me, please, both of me. Stay with me. Please keep talking dirty. Give to me, sweet, sacred lips. Your mouth was made to suck mine.
I'm intrigued with how thought creates form
Right.
and how form influences your thoughts.
Yeah.
So I watch that dynamic of spiritual alchemy in people.
So it excites you when you get.
Yeah, well, you know, when I do readings on people, when I do a health evaluation on you, what I'm looking for, quite frankly, is where you have invested your spirit into physical matter and how much it's costing you spiritually, and the wise use of your spirit. I'm not a voyeur. You know, I don't go around and scan people.
Right.
To be honest with you, I'm not interested
Yeah.
in doing that any more than you are singing in every corner of every room you walk into in your life. Where my help is most beneficial is at the stage in which you are actually developing the illness. Because I'm able to say, I'll tell you where you're losing power, and I'll tell you where, and I'll tell you why. And if you can shift this won't, the likelihood of this happening is reduced dramatically. You see yourself retiring soon, or?
No.
Okay. What about other ambitions?
Being more at peace with myself so that I can be more at peace with all the people that I come into contact with, and not destroy relationships with all of my fucked up character defects. I also want to be a dad. You know, I just like the kid.
It's baby time.
I like to, you know, spend time with kids and have a place to give that unconditional love and do the family thing, have the unit, you know, feel the joy of, you know, we're a little team here. You know, I know it's harder than it sounds. It takes a lot of work.
There's a constant kind of communication, not with human beings.
You, just for clarity's sake, are referring to a non-physical,
Yeah,
like an angel.
yeah. I don't know. I know it involves a language that I don't consciously understand, that subconsciously somewhere in myself I do understand, and I know that I can translate ideas that they give me in their technical form, in their language, into a musical representation of of that idea, without being conscious of it. I know I'm doing that.
There aren't many people in your occupation that would admit to feeling that they are, should we use the word co-creating or co-scripting music with an angel. What's your spiritual practice like?
Mine out like my discipline?
Yeah.
At the moment, I meditate twice a day. I pray every morning. I pray every night. I pray before and after every show that I play. I pray before I eat, but only when I'm by myself.
What would you define as the difference between prayer and meditation?
I would say that prayer is talking to God, and that meditation is listening to God.
People don't realize that there is a phenomenal spiritual difference between a promise and a vow.
Right.
A vow is something that is a promise that goes vertically, and a human promise is a horizontal thing that can be negotiated. I don't think people know the nature of the sacred and how intimate that role is in someone's life, that you do truly have an angel.
Often I'll hear people complain about their situation, about how unhappy they are, but they really, it's like, for them to want to change, they have to completely surrender to the unknown and say, okay, I'm gonna, whatever it's gonna be, I'm gonna change, and I'm gonna go into this risky place.
People want to grow consciously,
Right.
but they want selective consciousness.
Yeah, they want it so it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and you know, they want to sort of, well, I don't want this to change and I don't want that to change.
Right.
And what I've realized is that people are frightened of God more than anything else, because the belief is that as you pursue spirituality, it's going to cost.
Right.
And there is an exchange.
Yeah.
You know, that's absolutely true. And it's the change that goes with surrender and with finally realizing I cannot make my physical world more important than the spiritual.
Two parts to being human. You know, there's two people in every one of us. There's the ego, which you just described, which is the part of us that believes that who I am is what I have, what I do, what others think of me, how much better I am than other people, and it's like living in all these low frequencies. And then there's the other part of us, the higher or the sacred self, that says, I don't care whether I win or lose, whether I'm better than anybody else, how much I have, all I want is to be at peace.
But is there not a time for a low frequency? Just when you're sort of relaxing and...
You start using your intuition, you start using creativity, you start using insight. These are higher frequencies than fear and stress and anxiety. And you just call that in. You can call that in at will. You can do that in your emotional health, you can do that physical health, you can do that in consciousness. Einstein said nothing happens until something moves.
The sound ah does appear in the word God.
And it appears in the name for God in every language in the world. And it's the sound of creation. Obviously, you're one of the only rock musicians in the world doing yoga.
Is that true? It seems pretty popular nowadays. I thought I could already do the splits and stuff. So I was able to progress at it really quickly.
You're not kidding. I mean, if you can put your legs behind your head.
Yeah.
Let me see that. That's astonishing.
But
you know, there's a lot of mind in that too. There's a lot of, you know, like yoga. You know, the word yoga means union. What meditation does in yoga is very similar. Is it pushes you in touch with the oneness. You know, it's like you can't divide silence. You cut silence in half as many times as you can cut it in half. You can. It's indivisible.
When I find my peace of mind.
There's an old Zen proverb that said that it's the silence between the notes that makes the music.
a note that occurs after 20 seconds of silence is not the same note that would have occurred before the 20 seconds if you just heard the note at 0 seconds. You know, the note that occurs to 20 seconds or the note that occurs in 40 seconds, those are new notes. You know, those are notes that are created out of the silence.
Out of the silence,
and the silence is part of the note. And the silence, in that case, obviously, if it's the note lasts for 1 second and the 20 seconds is the silence, then the 20 seconds is a bigger part of the note than the note itself.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You gotta let it be. I feel so. Where I go, I just don't know. Gotta take it slow.
The secret to success in life is to fall in love with what you do, and then what you do is you sell the love. You know, and that's what you're doing up there. You're really not selling music. You're selling your love.
We're in love with the music
and
each other and what we create is very special.
And that really comes across. There was a real strong sense of love. I mean, there were people, you know, like putting their fingers up in the air and
flashing the metal.
Right.
Flash the metal.
Right. I've got 8 children.
Do you really?
6 daughters and 2 sons. Yeah,
You are a
6
stud.
beautiful daughters. Yeah, well, I got 'em. It's all my pleasure. My wife is a stud.
It's your pleasure.
That's awesome.
When I ask people about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it's always, yeah, I feel like they're part of me and I'm part of them,
Yeah,
rather than it's something that I'm buying.
That's
you know,
about the greatest compliment that I think that we could ever get.
You think about your life. You know, you come into the world with nothing.
Yeah.
You leave with nothing.
Yeah.
So your life is like a parenthesis in eternity.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. This is what you get while you're here. And the only thing you can do with your life is give it away.
I don't feel that we're just playing for the people that are there. I feel that we're playing for spirits from many different dimensions, and I feel that we're playing for all of the history of music. You know, I think of all, like, I refer to the history of music so much, and for my musical education and my education as a person, that's been the thing that has kept me on a righteous path in my life.
If there's only one force in the universe,
Yeah.
called God, or whatever you want to call it, and there's no such thing as time, I mean, if that's what quantum physics teaches us, it really means that the same force that was in Shakespeare, and Bach,
Yeah.
and Rumi, and Buddha, and Jesus, and Mother Teresa, and Martin Luther King, and you know, and that same force is in every one of us. It's like we're connected in some way, spiritually, to everything and everyone who ever was or ever will be.
Yeah, and that concept to me is absolutely thrilling.
Where I go, I just don't know. I'm out in the snow in Mexico. When I find my peace of mind, I won't be before the end of time.
It spoke about your history of drug addiction the other day and how you cleaned yourself up.
It's the challenge, you know. I think that's sort of where the name Getting High comes from.
Either you release the need to control your life and give in to some greater power that would direct your ascension or your getting high process.
Right.
Or you insist on doing it your way, which would be the mechanical, drug way, altered state, in which case you can't outrun the mystical process. And so
of a lifetime for sure, but I'm pretty grateful for the challenge, because without it, I think I may have never been privileged to discovering the big picture.
one of the common qualities, or one of the, certainly the dominant, is the issue of control that people have, and the loss of feeling that they can't control their external life, suffering from the inability to control their inner life, the fear of being out of control, and almost wanting to drown that fear so they can live
Yeah.
in the illusion
Yeah.
that they are in control.
Yeah, I think there's a part of it which is, wanting to take this shortcut to a relationship with God.